Welcome to zoology session. Today's topic neural control and coordination. Subtopic reflex action and the reflex arm. In this, what is the reflex action? First we will discuss this one. Instantaneous, involuntary, automatic and unconscious. Automatic, involuntary, instantaneous and unconscious. These action by involvement of central nervous system is called as reflex action. This reflex action comprises with neuronal components. That neuronal components which gives a pathway. That pathway through the central nervous system. Here, what are the neuronal components which gives arc for impulse? This impulse through pathway. That neuronal components called as reflex arc. In this reflex arc, at least in this pathway, there are certain components are very important. That is, this is a spinal already we discussed. This is a grey matter and it is white matter. Here it is dorsal ganglionic root and here ventral ganglionic root and nerve impulse reaches. For example, if we take hand, here the receptors receive signals and this impulse travel through dorsal root of ganglion and it reaches to the interneuron. Again, it starts this is the ventral root. It reaches up to this hand. Here, where this pathway starts with ventral, this is dorsal root. Ventral root, interneuron. This is a afferent which carries signals from sensory to spinal. This is a central nervous system of a spinal cord. And these are the spinal nerves. This is afferent which carries and this we called as a sensory nerve. Here interneuron connects with the signals. That impulse again transmitted through the ventral root. This is efferent neuron. This efferent neuron carries signal to the target part like a hand or any muscle, leg, and this we call as a motor neuron. So when an impulse starts, from that we call as a stimulus, and when the impulse travel to target part. This called as a response. These stimulus and the response within the central nervous system pathway is called as a reflex arc, a reflex action. So in this we call, suppose if a knee, when any pain we may feel, automatically the leg movement will be backward or forward. So this we call as a knee jerk. So outside environment, due to environment, we have a receptors in our body. Next one is sensory reception and processing. In our human body, there are different types of receptors present, and these receptors gives a stimulus, and these receptors starts with the impulse and reaches to this sensory or afferent nerve to the brain, and a total impulses input into the brain. Again here analyze and it gives a signal to the particular target path, that is motor signals, motor nerves. So this we call as a processing, where signals started input into the brain, analyzes and gives to the afferent effector organ. This signal reaches to the effector organ. This we call as a processing. So in this we have different types of sensory receptors in our human body that we will discuss in this topic. There are 4 types of receptors. One is exteroceptors, interoceptors, proprioceptors, thermoceptors. Exteroceptors, which are responsible for external surface of our skin in our body, like hearing, vision, taste, touch and pain. This is a external stimuli which produce in out of our body. Suppose any person touch and we hear some sounds and vision, taste and pain. So these are comes under exteroreceptors, and interoreceptors, that is internal stimuli. So what are the internal parts? We know abdominal cavity and the thoracic cavity, lung, heart, intestines, liver, kidney, like visceral organs which are gives stimuli, that is the interoreceptors. In this internal stimuli, there is a sensitive receptors which gives impulse to the brain. and also blood vessels comes under in this enteroreceptors. Next one is proprioceptors. Proprioceptors which gives impulse or sensitive impulse. This body position or a movement. So for movement we know muscles, skeletal and body position maintains equilibrium by the internal ear. So the receptors are which receives from these parts and it gives a signal to the central nervous system. And thermoreceptors, one is caloreceptors, frigidoreceptors. Caloreceptors which are responsible for heat, frigidoreceptors which are responsible for cold. So these are various types of exteroreceptors, interoreceptors, proprio and thermoreceptors which gives stimuli and the response and pass through the information to the brain, then analyzing, and it gives afferent effector or target part, and motor nerve is important which gives signal to the target part. This is the processing of a sensory reception. Next topic we will discuss in another video.